One time, there was the Watcher. Now in the 8th grade, we all went on a field trip to Williamsburg, Virginia for our gifted program 8th grade field trip. It was during the fall time, so one of the fun activities we got to do is go on a ghost tour. Now it was one of the standard ghost tours. You go around, there's like actors, reenactments, they like take you through all of these like old homes, old buildings. They tell you all the ghost stories that accompany it. It's spooky, you know what I mean? And then we move on and go back to the hotel. So once it's over, you know, we're all scared, you know, it was spooky. We get on the charter bus and we head back to the hotel. Except the charter bus doesn't go to the hotel. It stops on a random street corner in a random neighborhood. Immediately, we all kind of look around like, are we supposed to be doing this? And our gifted teacher stands up and goes, all right, everyone off the bus. We're all standing on this like, you know, dimly lit street corner in this neighborhood. And my gifted teacher stands in front of all of us and goes, okay, now it's my turn. Here's my ghost story, which is what this story is right now. So the reason we were standing on this random street corner in this random neighborhood is because the house directly behind her was the house that she had personally stayed at when she was going to college in Virginia when she was younger. She says, you know, she went to college, she lived there, like there was never anything weird, like it was totally fine and normal, and then she ended up leaving. So a couple of years later, she ends up bringing this new boyfriend, future husband, back to stay in this one particular unit. So they are hanging out all day, they end up going to bed, and all of a sudden, my teacher gets violently woken up in the middle of the night. She jolts awake out of her sleep and she looks over and her husband is freaking out. I guess he like jolted in bed and screamed and that's what woke her up. So she's like freaking out and she's like, oh my gosh, like why did you scream? What's going on? And he is like white as a ghost. He is freaked out. And he proceeds to tell her that he was falling asleep in the middle of the night and he ended up waking up and seeing this giant black shadow figure outstretched over the bed, because I guess it was like a canopy bed, stretched out looking down on him over the bed. He freaked out, screamed, the figure freaked out, screamed, and then like jumped under the bed. So obviously my teacher's like, oh, you know, maybe it was a nightmare, maybe this, that, but he was like, no, it wasn't. I saw it. We need to leave. And my teacher said in that moment, she knew whatever he saw was real because her husband has always been a skeptic, never believed in any of that stuff. Like she's fully invested in it. He, not so much, but he was so visibly shaken and rattled by it that like she knew that it was serious and whatever he saw was real and they had to get out of there. So it's the middle of the night and they're trying to like change to a different unit, you know, a different like home that's a part of this complex. So they like quickly pack their stuff up, they leave, and I think they end up calling like the information hotline, or they end up calling somebody that they would have to talk to in order to try to move to a different unit. And I guess the person on the phone is like, okay, well, you know, what unit are you in? Okay, well, we'll try to see what we can do, see if there's any other rooms available, you know, just like stand by or whatever. So obviously they're not going to stay in the room. So I think they said that they ended up leaving and going to like a McDonald's or something. Like they ended up just going somewhere where they could like sit and be safe that is outside of this unit with the shadow figure. And during this time, my teacher said that she had like a friend that was like a medium or super into like the spiritual world. And she was like, well, I should give her a call and see if she can tell us like what we just experienced. So I guess she goes, she calls her friend. The husband describes what he saw, what happened. And the friend says, oh, it sounds like you had a watcher. And they were like, oh, what? A watcher spirit is basically a spirit that just kind of like hangs around in a place or building and just kind of observes, watches, never really makes itself known. And you most likely had this spirit watching you back when you lived alone in college, but you know, you just never knew because it never made itself known, but it was always kind of there just like hovering around and watching you. But when you ended up coming back years later with your husband, that was a being or person that this spirit was unaware of and had never seen before, so it was probably curious. And that's probably why the spirit was leaning over, gazing at your husband in his sleep, because the spirit was trying to get a better look at this being it had never seen before and didn't recognize. So my teacher's husband is freaking out over this. She's kind of like, oh, well, okay. And then they get a call back from the help center that was supposed to move them into another room. And this is where it gets interesting. They end up picking up the phone. It's like the early hours of the morning, and the person on the other end goes, okay, so like, I'm so sorry, but all of our other units are booked right now and we're not able to move you into an adjoining room at this moment. However, we do have the presidential suite available for like the next 24 hours. So we're just gonna go ahead and move you into the presidential suite free of charge, and we're gonna go ahead and get you in there as soon as possible, okay? And they knew in that moment that what they experienced was real, because there is absolutely no world where a relatively nice, expensive complex is going to just up and move you into the presidential suite for free simply because you said something weird happened in that room. If that room isn't notorious for having things like that happen often. So to me and everybody else who had heard the story, it made it pretty clear, like, yeah, they knew they needed to get them out of that room, like, as soon as possible, whatever it takes. Moral of the story, ghosts give good upgrades.